What is the lifestyle that is going to help us supercharge? So you talked about sleep. Where should we be at? How much sleep are we talking about? Does time of day matter? And not just sleep. What is the idealized lifestyle?
So if we just go back through those Bright Minds risk factors, so with blood flow, it's exercise. Simple supplements like ginkgo and vinpocetine boost blood flow to the brain. Simple foods like beets or cayenne pepper, rosemary. So they're dietary things you can do. They're lifestyle things. Exercise
One thing on blood
is so
flow
important.
you've said that I thought was really interesting is what happens in the heart happens to the brain, happens to the genitals. And what's the stat on the number of 40 and 50 and 60-year-olds that have erectile dysfunction? It's insane.
40% of 40-year-olds. 70% of 70-year-olds. And if you have blood flow problems anywhere, it likely means they're everywhere. And it's one of the, I don't want to say big benefits, that's bad, but it's one of the benefits of the program. Almost everybody's sex life gets better, which I'm like a huge fan of.
Hey.
But this is, for years, my antidepressants, not mine, but, like Prozac and Zoloft and Lexapro, they decrease sexual function, which that makes me sad, right? It makes it harder for women to have an orgasm or harder for men to perform, right? And I'm like, well, let me give you something that'll enhance your performance because your mood will be better. And I'm always thinking, what I do for you, how is that going to affect your partner? Because I never think of myself as your psychiatrist. I always think of myself as your family's psychiatrist because I see little kids and old people and everybody in between. So exercise. So for retirement and aging, I want you working in a job that you're passionate about, that you're purposeful with. And if you're not, and some people just aren't, it's, well, what are you doing for new learning every day?
What do you do for new learning every day? Is it all around the brain, or do you have stuff outside of that?
No, in fact, it shouldn't be. Like, I know how to read brain scans. Just reading more scans doesn't really help my brains. Pattern recognition. So I play the piano, which I really like. Simply Piano is my app for playing the piano, which is good for my cerebellum. And then I have a table tennis coach. And it's
You have a table tennis coach?
I do.
That's right. You played at the national level, didn't you?
I did. But you want to get better. And the only way you get better is play people better than you. And so I do that. The I is take fish oil and a probiotic. Because
what do you think about keto? So I being inflammation. So keto is the only thing in my life that had a drug-like effect when I tried it. I had suffered from inflammation for like 15 years. I was icing my wrists every night because they just hurt and just to keep them in check. But I wasn't doing any fat in my diet. I basically lived in a state of rabbit starvation for 2 or 3 years. And then for the potential anti-cancer properties, I'd been hearing about ketogenics thanks to Peter Attia and Dom D'Agostino, and I thought, all right, I'm going to give this a shot. I went hardcore, 4-to-1. So for every combined gram of protein and carbohydrate, I was eating 4 grams of fat. It was miserable. I hated it the most, but my wrist felt amazing. That was really transformative for me. What are your thoughts on keto?
Well, I'm a fan of it for neurodegenerative diseases and for seizures. In fact, I have a granddaughter who has a wicked seizure disorder, and on a ketogenic diet, she lost her seizures. Wow. It's actually one of my passion stories, because when I suggested it, she's 5 months old, she's having 160 seizures a day, and on the diet, she lost her seizures. But the reason I'm not a fan in general is there's not enough colorful plants. And plants have medicine. So for your pain, it may have been dairy, or it may have been gluten, or it may have been corn, or it may have been soy. Those things that tend to go away on a ketogenic diet, it could have been one of those things as well that was driving the inflammation. Because a lot of people would argue that meat can drive inflammation as well. And the first thing I do with almost all of my patients that aren't getting better is I put them on an elimination diet. And I have to tell you, the nutritionists in my clinics, they have more success stories than the psychiatrists. So one story, I had a guy that was severely depressed. He had ECT, he'd been hospitalized, electric shock therapy.
Oh,
he had been hospitalized multiple times, he was suicidal. He said to me, "You're my last hope." I get that a lot. That's a little bit stressful for me. And I'm like, nothing's worked. I want you to try an elimination diet. He's like, do I have to? I'm like, really? Yes, you have to. And so what does that mean? No gluten, no dairy, kill the sugar, no corn, no soy, no artificial dyes or preservatives. He's like, that's my whole diet. But I'll do it. 3 weeks later, it's dramatically better.
Wow.
But then I said, so let's see what it is. So we added back gluten. Nothing happened. We added back dairy. Nothing happened. We added back corn. He said within 20 minutes, he had a vision of a gun in his mouth pulling the trigger. I'm like, we have to break up with corn. And his depression has not come back.
Wow, that's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and I mean, I should be used to that at this point, like the number of people that have that kind of reaction to a specific type of food and how variable it is, meaning maybe corn for me is fine, but for him is absolutely catastrophic. And how much variability do you see? How do you, because an elimination diet can be very confusing for people. How do you walk people through that?
You just have to think of it really simply. These are foods I get to choose, and these are the foods I should lose. And you just have to know the list. And
but like, where do you
not
start?
hard.
Is there a ground zero? Like, is it chicken breast and broccoli? Like, what is your start here?
Well, see, for me, the first rule is it has to be delicious and nutritious. So I am fortunate that I'm married to a nurse who not only is beautiful, but she's really smart. And one of her best gifts is taking really healthy food and making it taste awesome. So there is no suffering. So you have to get that in their head. And we're all creatures of routine. I mean, I'm so a creature of routine. So that means I really only have to find 20 foods I love that love me back.
Right.
And I don't know in your relationship if you've ever been in love that was bad for you, if you've ever had a bad relationship. But I have. And I'm not doing it again. And I'm damn sure not doing it with food. So, because I have control over that. Do I love this? And does it love me back? I'm not going to be in love with something that hurts me. I did the Daniel plan. Pastor Rick Warren called me up and said, I'm fat, my church is fat, will you help me? We created a program for them, Mark Hyman and I did, and thousands of churches around the world have done it. It's awesome. But one of the pastor's wives came into my office and she said, I told my husband last night after you gave a lecture that I'd rather get Alzheimer's disease than give up sugar.
Whoa.
And I'm like, did you date the bad boys in high school? Because that's a bad relationship.
Wow.
And later we found out she has a family history of Alzheimer's and she's given up sugar. But the insanity around food is crazy.
Dude, that like actually makes me emotional. That's crazy.
It's crazy, but so many, they're attached to, you know, at the holidays, this is how my mother loved me, so if I give this up, it's like giving up my mother, and you really have to understand the attachments to the different foods they have, but then get them attached to new foods by showing them it can be both delicious and nutritious.
If you like that clip, check out another powerful clip right here, and I'll see you there.